Meta cuts 600 AI jobs in a boom. Why do investors cheer when companies fire? Europe's startup scene is hot, but red tape keeps choking scale. Can the EU fix itself? Inside a $64 billion scam machine, the friendly direct messaging that drains your life savings. Francis Ford Coppola, the renowned film director, says he's broke. Now he's auctioning a $1 million watch. And the East Wing falls. Why demolishing a cornerstone of White House history is sparking outrage. All that and more today.
Welcome to Filtered with TJ Walker.
Hi, and welcome to the show. It is a fantastic, beautiful Thursday here in South Florida. It is October 23rd. We're only a week and a day away from Halloween, which is going to be a big celebration in my house and in my neighborhood. Looking forward to that. Before we dive in, let's look at the vitals of the market yesterday. S&P 500 closed at 6,699.4. That's down 0.53%. The NASDAQ Composite closed at 22,740.40. That's down 0.93%. Always remember the long term. S&P 500 is up over the last 25 years, an average of 7.47% a year. The NASDAQ 100 is up 9.73% on average per year. So please keep in mind the long run when you are investing. Let's dive right into the top stories of the day. We've got a lot of stuff we got to cover today, so stay tuned. If this is your first time, this show is Filtered with TJ Walker. Every day we look at the top business, technology, economic, and culture stories of the day, and then filter it through the lens of communication and personal development skills. That's what we're all about. My promise to you is spend a little time with me each day here, whether on a video, social media platform, or on a podcast platform, whatever your preference is. And you'll learn a little more about the world, be informed, but you'll also learn how to personally be more successful because you'll be improving your communication and personal development skills. Issue 1. Meta's AI layoffs show how Wall Street rewards job cuts. Even in the middle of an AI boom, Meta is laying off workers and investors are cheering. According to the Washington Post, Meta is cutting about 600 jobs from its artificial intelligence division as part of a reorganization to quicken decision-making and make the team more impactful. The move affects product AI infrastructure and FAIR research teams, though the company says it will keep hiring for its new to-be-determined lab. It's the latest round of tech layoffs in an era when profitability no longer guarantees job security. Since 2020, more than 1.3 million tech workers have been laid off globally, including at Twitter, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, often while companies were reporting record earnings. And the market loves it. Analysts say that on average, tech stocks jump about 5% in the days following major layoff announcements. Efficiency, not empathy, is what's being rewarded on Wall Street. According to Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, the goal is to build, quote, the most elite and talent-dense team in the industry. In other words, fewer people, bigger bets on AI. Okay, what's the real message here? Meta is firing 600 people. At the same time, it's giving some AI experts $100 million pay packages. If that sounds confusing, if that sounds chaotic, guess what it is? That's the world of AI. A couple of things going on here. Tech companies find that every time they fire people, their stock goes up. So a lot of CEOs are thinking, okay, I toss 1,000 people out on the street, on the curb, but my own bonus goes up. What's the catch? Okay, I'm not suggesting anyone really enjoys firing people, but let's go a little bit deeper here. This is kind of an odd, weird trend. At the very same time, Meta says it's hiring more and more people for AI, they're firing people. And this has been going on a lot for the last 4 years or so. In some respects, Elon Musk set this off because he went in and slashed 75% of the people working at Twitter, and it was still standing. Now, arguably, the standards were much lower. A lot more slop came through, a lot more fraud, a lot more hate, a lot more unsafe material. But the basic product still worked. And a lot of other tech leaders saw that and said, wow, if this guy can reduce cost by about 75% and just take a chainsaw to his own employees and get rewarded for it, maybe I should too. It is a lesson we see tech people following again and again and again. I should point out, every time this happens, on average, tech companies see their stock price go up 5%. And let's not forget, most CEOs and many top executives get most of their compensation not in terms of a big, fat, juicy salary, although they often get that. They get it in terms of more stock options and the stock they already own escalating in value. So they have a huge, huge incentive to do that. So what's the message for you? How should you take something away from this? I think you've got to realize that these companies are not going to be, this isn't Japan in 1990 and you've got a guaranteed, 40-year career there. It's not the United States in the 1950s where you put in your time, you get the cake once a year for your birthday, the golden watch when you're retiring at 65. Those days are long gone. Some of you will be thinking, oh, what's TJ talking about? Is that history from the 18th century? No, that is the way a lot of capitalistic societies used to work. And we're not going back to those days. So what is the real message for you? I think you have to realize that no matter how much you like your current company, unless it's your own company and you own your own company, and I own my own company, unless you're working for your own company, you have to realize that you can be fired like that in most situations. Yes, there are a few people who have contracts and payouts. I mean, these new AI people that are being lured to Meta, some of them with $250 million pay packages. Okay, if you get fired and they've already paid you $250 million, you're probably not worrying too much. But for most of us in the real world, let's say you make $50,000 to $900,000. If you're getting something in that level of pay, you're able to support yourself, perhaps able to support your family. But if you get fired, you likely, unless you're older, probably don't have long-term wealth accrued. You need income. And so my real message to you is always be networking, always be connecting. Know what all of your friends are doing in similar businesses, in similar industries, similar companies. Take calls from every job recruiter, every headhunter who ever reaches out to you. You never know. You could be the flavor of the month, be feted by a CEO, be given a nice corner office, be given a 6-figure bonus, a 7-figure bonus, sometimes an 8-figure bonus today. The very next day, something happens to the stock price and sorry, Charlie, we're firing you. Here's your box of stuff. Don't let the door hit you as you're walking out. That's the modern reality of big tech companies and increasingly other parts of the economy. So I wish I could tell you I had some magic secret for you to guarantee you never get laid off. I don't. The only guarantee is having skills so valuable, and here's the part people don't want to hear, and your social skills are so good that you already have meaningful relationships and connections with other people in your industry, other people who could hire you, other people who could value your services. And maybe you don't even want to work for another big company. That's okay. You need to have meaningful relationships with investors in your community in case you want to raise money for yourself. You might not need to raise money, but you need to put together a team and bring together other co-founders for a startup. You can't do that if you're just in your own little world, sitting at your desk, doing your thing all the time. You have to be out meeting people face to face, connecting. This idea that you're going to work from home, and hey, I work from home. I don't want to be a hypocrite here, but this idea that you're going to work from home, do your job, get your paycheck, and at 5 o'clock, sign off, power down your computer, and spend the rest of your time playing video games or watching TV or even playing pickleball and not worry about your career. I'm sorry, that's not going to work. You got to spend other time. You got to spend some free time, evening time, some weekend, connecting with people, socializing, letting them know who you are. Work in professional associations. Go to meetups that relate to people in your industry, whether you're in tech or anything else. With all of the advent of job sites and monster.com and all that, the research shows even in a place like Google, 70% of people who are hired because they had an internal connection advocating for them. You don't get that if you're in this little bubble in front of your computer all day long and you think job hunting is click, send your resume. That's an extraordinarily slow, cumbersome, and often ineffective way of getting to the next stage for your career. What you really want at any time is to have people fighting over you, to be so good at what you do, whether it is artificial intelligence, software design, or old-fashioned cabinet making, or making chimneys in people's homes out of reclaimed stone. You need to be so good at it that people are seeking you out. People want you to come work for their company, or they want to hire you directly. That is ultimately the only kind of job security you're going to get in the 21st century, as I see it. So my condolences to the AI people, the 600 AI people at Meta who just got fired, who were probably thinking, wow, I got it pretty good. I'm working in AI at Meta. The cash is coming in. They're doing nothing but hiring. Boom, it can change in a moment's notice, and you're out on the street. So remember, it's not enough to simply do your job. Sorry. You have to do your other job, which is connecting with people, meeting with people, networking. I don't mean in a grubby way where you're walking around a chamber of commerce saying, hi, here's my car. Hi, here's my car. No, I mean you need to have meaningful relationships with people who are on some mission that is vaguely related to yours. You never know when you might be able to help them, and they might be able to help you. The time to build the groundwork for help is when you don't need the help. It's when everything is good. That's when you build the relationships, not starting out with, hey, I know we haven't talked in 7 years, but I'm out of work. Can you give me a job? That is the worst time to start building these relationships. I'm TJ Walker. We've got a lot to come. Thanks so much for joining me today. We will be back in just a moment after these commercial words.
Filtered is brought to you by the following.
Get the deeper takes I don't post anywhere else. Subscribe now at substack.com/@TJWalkerSuccess and stay in the loop. For years, people have asked how they could get one-on-one coaching from me inexpensively. Well, now you can, anytime, anywhere with the TJ Walker AI clone. It's like having me in your pocket, ready to help you prep for a speech, polish a pitch, or calm your nerves before a big meeting. You talk to it, it responds like I would, based on my real-world coaching of thousands of leaders and communicators. Check it out at tjwalker.ai. It's not just smart, it's personal. Want to support? And we are back. I'm TJ Walker. Let's dive right into issue 2. Europe's startups are booming, but bureaucracy is still the boss. Europe's entrepreneurs are full of ideas, but buried in paperwork, apparently. According to the Times, the European Union's startup scene has exploded, with 35,000 early-stage companies in 2024, 4 times more than a decade ago, and total investment reaching $426 billion. Yet when founders try to expand across borders, they hit a wall of bureaucracy. Each country still has its own maze of labor laws, environmental codes, and funding rules. Former European Central Banker President Mario Draghi warned that without a unified capital market and simpler rules, Europe could lose trillions in innovation by 2040. For many entrepreneurs, the US remains the place to scale. Greek founder Yanis Galkis moved his cybersecurity company to America because, as he put it, you can grow faster here. Okay, what's the real message here? Yes, Europe does have a vibrant startup scene, but there's still so much bureaucracy. Those who are really ambitious, who want to grow quickly, still come to America. At least they try to. Let's dig a little bit deeper here. This, to me, is one of the great tragedies of what is happening in American policy now, making it harder for foreigners to move to the United States to take jobs, to attend our universities, because the United States has historically had such a rich, vibrant startup culture. That's why we have a wildly successful economy. That's why, by some measures, we are still the largest economy in the world, the dominant economy, because we have such a vibrant startup community. Imagine what our economy would look like right now if we had no Apple, we had no Microsoft, we had no Facebook, we had no Google. We might look like a middling European country at this point. Not necessarily bad place, but it would be a very, very different place. So there are 35,000 startups in the EU, but very few of them scale the way a Spotify did. Certainly not the way a Google does or a Facebook. And a part of it is, yes, there's this European Union, but each country can still have all sorts of pesky little regulations. There is the issue of language. I mean, that is one of the huge advantages anyone starting in a business in the United States has, is you've got this one giant open market. You pretty much can sell anything to all 50 states, with a few exceptions. And you can do everything just in English if you want to, and be wildly successful before you expand to Spanish and other languages. Europe, it's not like that. A couple of other cultural things that affect the startup community in the two different continents differently. One of them is funding. Every single venture-backed company in the United States gets, on average, $5 million of startup capital. In Europe, it's only 1 million. That's a 5-to-1 advantage for entrepreneurs who make it here in the United States and at least get to that level. And let's not forget, most ventures that get venture funding don't make it in the long run, but still, that is a major threshold to get over. Some other facts I want to bring to your attention. 55% of United States unicorn founders, these are the startups that become worth $1 billion early in their career. 55% of unicorn founders are immigrants. Some of the top immigrants here in the United States who have really had a huge impact on our economy, our startup economy, and our larger culture. Elon Musk, and we'll deal with his controversies another day. Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, the heads of Google and Microsoft. Sergey Brin of Google, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA. So there are just so many people who have really created huge businesses, hiring tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, in some cases, millions of employees. They all came from other countries. That has been the historic strength of the United States. And unfortunately, it's a strength that we're now ending. The United States has a lot of resources. We have the financial resources of the world's currency, uses our money, the US dollar. It's the default currency of the world. That helps us a lot, makes it a lot easier to do business. But the other great asset we had was this constant inflow of not only smart people from around the world, but the most ambitious people in the world. Not everyone dreams of becoming a billionaire. In fact, most people don't. And those who do are not really serious about it. But there's a tiny percentage of people around the globe at a young age where they're drawn to business, they're drawn to invention, they're drawn to creating. And these are the kids that their parents are not telling them, go get a paper route or go sell lemonade. They're doing it even if they have to sneak out of the house. There's a certain tiny percentage of people who are just naturally drawn to, and I was not one of them. I was one of those kids where I sold fewer magazine subscriptions for my junior high school than anyone else. I was not the kid who wanted to knock door to door to sell peanut brittle for my Cub Scout troop pack, I should say. So it's not about being virtuous or even smarter sometimes, but there's a certain type of person who is just drawn to be an entrepreneur, doesn't mind working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day to make their dream happen. And the United States has been a combination of smart and lucky, and that we've attracted these people. And now we're essentially saying no. Now, some of the arguments are, well, TJ, that's not really right. The smartest AI PhDs in the world don't want to come from India or China and work for some startup. They want the big cushy job from Meta or Google, and those companies can afford to pay $100,000 fee/bribe to the US government to let them in. Some of that is true, but there's some people who are already successful in their country, have already started a business, would love to move to the United States, but they want to do it for their own startup that's already doing pretty well in their country. It's much, much harder for them to come to the United States now. They don't necessarily want to pay the $5 million for the golden pass or whatever it's called. The other bigger issue is so many people who are really ambitious around the globe decide in high school, I want to move to America and I want to make it big in America. I want to be the next Elon Musk. I want to be the next Steve Jobs. And so they are trying to go to college in the United States because they've heard if you go to a place like Stanford, a place like Harvard, you could follow in the footsteps of a Sergey Brin or a Bill Gates. And what we are seeing, the data is coming in every day from colleges around the country, that foreign enrollments are going way, way down. Foreign students are being discouraged from attending. They're not getting access to our schools. The official policy in the United States government now is try to keep these foreigners out of here. And it's really destroying one of the great assets this country has with its economy. We're able to attract the top minds, the people who are the ultimate job creators, people who start businesses that aren't just and there's nothing wrong with starting a mom and pop clothing shop or restaurant where you hire 5 people. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. But when you look at what these huge tech companies can do, the entrepreneurs, when they really work, they work big time and they can create jobs for hundreds of thousands of people. Do they solve every problem? Are they perfect employers? No, but it's a lot better than being in a country that doesn't have any of that. Now, I've spent a fair amount of time in other countries around the world. I've had the good fortune to work in 45 nations, working with political leaders and business leaders. And a lot of them are lovely places. You know, one of the best places I've ever been in, going back 20 years ago, was a tiny country, Slovenia. Great quality of life, beautiful cafes and infrastructure and nature. But it would be pretty hard to start a tech company and turn it into $1 billion unicorn if you're based in a tiny little country like that. There's just too many roadblocks. Now, I'm all in favor of other countries getting rid of roadblocks, and if the EU follows the advice of Mario Draghi and makes it easier for startup founders to do well there, that's great. But we can't control other countries. If you are watching today from the United States, or you hope the United States does better, we can control our policies here. And I think it's absolute insanity that we are not openly encouraging the brightest, the best, the most ambitious from around the world to come here. That is, in fact, what has made America what it is. It's what it's made America great. Back in a moment.
We'll be right back after this break. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Most people can't afford a full-time coach. And even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40-plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question, get feedback on your elevator pitch, rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it.
Welcome back to Filtered. Next issue, how a friendly direct message becomes a $250,000 scam. It starts with a, "Hi, how are you?" on Facebook and ends with your life savings gone. Americans have lost $16.6 billion to online scams, much of it criminal syndicates running high-tech fraud compounds in Southeast Asia. That's according to a new report from the Times. These networks operate like corporations, complete with HR departments, quotas, and trafficked workers forced to scam victims worldwide. The global take, roughly $64 billion a year. This is big, big business. Sarah, age 62, joins a Facebook investing group. A charming stranger named David messages her about dividend stocks, then shifts to WhatsApp. He sends photos of his office, screenshots of fake trades, and a link to a sleek crypto trading site. Sarah, before you realize it, invests $500, sees fake profits, and even withdraws $100. That's the hook. Then comes pressure. Limited time investment rounds, AML fees, compliance taxes. By the time she resists, her $250,000 is gone. Funneled through crypto wallets, money mules, and shell companies. It's not a crime of opportunity, it's an industry. Okay, what's the real message here? Someone reaches out to you on Facebook or social media, a direct message saying they can help you financially in any way. Beware! You should see a sign that says scam, scam, scam flashing in front of your eyes, because before you realize it, every penny you've worked for your entire life could be in someone else's crypto wallet, gone forever. Let's dig a little deeper and look at this. We all obviously know there's fraud in the world. And since the internet became popular, there were the infamous Nigerian princes looking to give you money. But this continues. And con artists realize you just use fancy buzzwords like crypto and you work people over so they have that fear of missing out. And you combine that with a little groundwork of being friendly, seeming like you're looking out for other people, seeming like it's just a friendship, sharing information. You put those two things together, people let their guard down. People who think of themselves as savvy and smart. Again, the numbers are astounding. $16 billion lost last year, just from people in the United States, a part of the $64 billion annual scam around the world. So it's called pig butchering. They bring you in, they're nice to you, they're friendly to you, they get you investing, they tell you you've made money. Hey, this seems credible. This guy's real. I made money. I gave him $300 and now I'm already up 20%. It seems real at the beginning until it isn't. Facebook is a big source of this. WhatsApp, fake crypto dashboards. Now, Facebook could do a lot more to get rid of these scam artists. They could put in a lot more protection. They could have a lot more people to contact when you feel you've been scammed, but they're not going to because it costs money. So if the mantra at Facebook and all the big tech companies is, let's just not have any actual people on salary to deal with problems of our customers. Let's not have anyone to fact check. Let's not have anyone to fraud check. Let's just keep the leanest staff possible. And the only people we have are going to be coders and people counting all the money. That's essentially what's happened at all of these platforms. So when you get scammed, you're out of luck quite often because Facebook isn't going to do anything for you. WhatsApp isn't going to do anything for you. Some more facts that are important. It's the money laundered via crypto mixers and overseas mules that's fueling this. SpaceX has disabled 2,500 Starlink terminals used by scam rings. Now, if you're targeted, the advice is stop the transfers, save evidence, report to the FBI and other legal organizations within your country. But the bigger thing is, don't trust someone you meet on the internet. Now, you and I have perhaps met on the internet, unless you're one of my friends or clients we've worked with in real life, but you don't really know me. So tomorrow I come on and say, hey, I've got the new TJ Walker crypto mutual fund. I guarantee you're going to get 14% a year on your investments. Send me your money now. Here's my crypto account or my PayPal. Don't send me money. What it means is somebody has hijacked my digital clone. I'm tied up in a closet somewhere, and they are scamming you against my will because I'm not going to ask you to invest money. What I would recommend, if you want to make money, and we all do, don't look for the quick win. This includes not betting on football games because you have a surefire tip. It means not betting on the weather. It means not betting on speculating on crypto. And I realize I'm going to make some of you unhappy. Well, TJ, that's ridiculous. I made a fortune on Bitcoin. Okay, good for you. You got lucky. But if you want to avoid messages that come to you that can lead to a scam, my advice is work with big, reputable financial companies, not all of them, ones that don't take fees or take extraordinarily small fees. This is why I'm a hugely down on the idea of putting your money in a hedge fund. They take 2%, 20% of the upside. They win big time no matter what. But the chances of you winning from a hedge fund are astronomically slow in the long run. Any 1 year, sure, you could be up. When I survey the financial landscape, and I'm not here to give you financial advice, folks. This is not a financial advisory show. I am no longer a registered financial. I've never been a registered financial advisor. I do have my various credentials certified by the United States government. It's been so long now, I even forgot the names of the tests I've passed. The ones that you have to be to sell stocks and to sell people anything financially related. And I've never been a stockbroker, but I've passed all those tests. Even so, I'm not giving you financial advice. I will tell you what I do. I invest my money with Vanguard index fund. They're not paying me to say that. Some of you I don't really remember hearing much about them. Is their CEO on CNBC every day yelling and screaming? No, that's why they're a good deal. Do I see ads of theirs constantly on Bloomberg and Fox Businesses? No, they don't spend money on advertising by and large. And that's why their fees are astronomically small. I invest in broad-based index funds. And in any 1 year, it's not going to triple the way a smart lucky bet on crypto does. But you know what else it does not do? It doesn't go to zero. It doesn't disappear overnight. So you can talk to some registered financial advisor. I'd recommend don't pay them percentage fees, pay them by the hour. Seems more expensive up front. It will save you a fortune in the long run. And at some level, if you buy an S&P 500 index fund, at least if you're in the United States, and it is from a Vanguard or some low-cost index fund, you really don't even need a financial advisor. You can, in fact, do it yourself. But whatever you do, please be very wary of anyone on the internet, especially if you've never met them face to face, giving you any advice on any financial opportunity. On this, I will give you financial advice. Hit delete. That's the absolute best thing you can do to your bottom line in the long run. More to come in just a moment.
Filtered is brought to you by the following. You don't need a new degree. You don't need another expensive coach. You need the right communication habits, and I'll teach them to you in just a few minutes a day. At MediaTrainingWorldwide.com, I've created the most comprehensive library of online communication and personal development courses anywhere. You'll learn public speaking, media training, persuasion, executive presence, and more. These are the same methods I've taught to world leaders, but now they're affordable and accessible to everyone. You can start for free and upgrade anytime. Go now to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a skill, and it's trainable.
Francis Ford Coppola is broke again. Francis Ford Coppola, the legendary director of The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, two movies I love, or really all the Godfathers, so 4 movies I love, says he's broke and he's auctioning off $1 million watch to stay afloat. According to the New York Times, Coppola will sell 7 luxury watches, including an F.P. Journe prototype he co-designed worth over $1 million. He says, quote, "I need to get some money to keep the ship afloat," he said from Rome. It's not new for him. He declared bankruptcy in the 1980s after One from the Heart flopped, owing $98 million. His latest self-financed film, Megalopolis, which I did not see, cost over $100 million, mostly his own money, but made only $14.4 million at the box office. Still, Coppola remains the ultimate artistic gambler, betting his legacy on vision, not profit. Okay, what's the real message here? Francis Ford Coppola should be admired and respected for his artistry in his craft. He should not be respected for his own personal financial management. Don't bet the ranch every single time on every idea you have, because if you do that long enough, you too can go bankrupt. Let's dig a little deeper here. This is fascinating to me. Now, we're not going to pass a hat around to collect money. We're not going to start a GoFundMe charity for Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, he's got $1 million watch. Okay. There is a point at some point when you owe so many millions to other people that they got to keep you around just hoping you'll make it big, and they can't take everything back. But still, let's look at some of the numbers here. He's declared bankruptcy before, $98 million in debt. Lifetime, his films, according to some estimates, have made $1.9 billion. Okay, but he didn't get to keep all that. The best estimates are that he's made $300 million. That's a lot of money to have no money. The Godfather trilogy alone grossed $1.15 billion. Apocalypse Now, which is a fantastic movie if you haven't seen it, grossed $150 million. Now, today he's wearing the same thing I'm wearing, an Apple Watch. We're both wearing the same watch. The difference is I've never had $1 million watch. And to be honest, I don't even want $1 million watch. He was asked, how often do you wear the watch? He's like, oh, I can't really wear it. It's too hard to insure. So he's never even gotten to wear it. So he's obviously an artistic visionary. But at some point, you can be an artistic visionary and still build some net worth. You can still develop an increasingly comfortable lifestyle. There is an old saying in Hollywood, never invest your own money. You're stupid to invest your own money. Always use other people's money. Always use OPM. And he has violated that numerous times. And he would have gotten away with it until this last movie, Megalopolis. It's all about this bizarre future world. It sounded like a fantastic premise. And frankly, I was excited to go see it, but I read the reviews, and virtually every single review said this is the most disjointed, bizarre, nonsensical, uninteresting mishmash of a movie ever. So I've not seen it. If you've seen it and you want to make a dissent, feel free. You can post comment. This or any other topic. We make this show live every day. We stream it live on all social media podcasts, as well as in the podcasting world. It's at Podbean, the live there, if you want to actually listen to us live. And then most people do consume this show on demand on social media platforms as well as podcasts. But if you watch live, you can post questions live while we record the show each morning. You can also post questions and comments after the show on the on-demand. And I do read all comments, and I do respond most of the time. A couple other things about Francis Ford Coppola. It's great to have a vision. And you look at a lot of the top filmmakers of the world. You look at someone like Michael Moore in the documentary space. If you look at someone like Spike Lee, for their first movie, yeah, they were all in. Credit card debt, bake sales. But they didn't keep doing that for every movie throughout their career, even after they'd already grossed $1 billion. At some point, you form alliances with people who believe in you, people who want to back your vision, producers who want to bankroll you. And if nobody wants to make your movie, it may be because you're not famous yet. You don't have a track record. Okay. If I go to Hollywood now, I could have the best idea in the world for a screenplay I've written, and I'm not going to raise $10 million to make that movie, even if it's the greatest possible screenplay ever. It's because I have no credibility in Hollywood. I've never made a movie. I've never even made a compelling short form 3-minute cartoon. So someone would be crazy to give me money. But I'm not Francis Ford Coppola. If I'm Francis Ford Coppola and I've made The Godfather and The Godfather 2 and The Godfather 3 and Apocalypse and all these other great movies, and I've got a screenplay and I say, give me money to make this, and every single producer says, nope, sorry, don't think so. If every single financier says, nope, not going to give you money, maybe it's a sign either the script isn't any good or your skills have started to decline. Now, Francis Ford Coppola, he's in his 80s. That doesn't by itself mean he can't be creative anymore. Clint Eastwood is in his 90s. He's still directing movies. But at some point, you do need to listen to the marketplace. And if you're completely okay with not having any money and going from owning vineyards as Francis Ford Coppola, live mansions and houses all around the globe, to moving into a studio apartment, I guess it's okay. You've got to do that. And I'm not suggesting he's moving into a studio apartment, but he's had to sell both of his wineries. And if you've ever been to a wine store, you've probably seen Coppola on some bottles. That was his winery, gone. He clearly has more passion for making films than he does wineries, but do you have to give up everything? At some point, there can be a time to retire. And it's good to listen to the market. My show right here with you is relatively new. I've been in the training business for 40 years, working with political leaders, CEOs, billionaires, people in every industry. It's going to be very easy for me to figure when to retire that part of my business because no one will pick up the phone and call me and hire me. That's easy. It's going to be easy to figure out when to retire from doing a show like this because one day no one will watch because I'll have lost my marbles. And ideally I stop before that. And there's no advertising and there's no audience for advertising. So it'll naturally occur. But if you're a filmmaker and the thing you try to create takes this giant bundle of money to get off the ground, then it's harder to really tell sometimes. And rich, successful people can often be surrounded by sycophants saying, hey, you're a genius, boss. Everything you do touches to gold. You can be egged on by people who want to be a part of it. You got to watch out for that. I don't know if that's what's happened to Francis Ford Coppola or not, but it's a little bit sad to see someone who has created so many great artifacts of our culture. The most important films in the history of filmmaking, or some of them, to reduce to having to sell everything he owns or a lot of what he owns. It's a little sad. I'm hoping he could still make another movie or something, but he can do it in a way where he invests other people's money. But it's not going to be mine, okay? I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me. We have more to come. Don't go away.
Imagine having a communication coach who never sleeps. Meet your new secret weapon, the TJ Walker AI clone. Go to tjwalker.ai and start getting custom coaching 24/7. No scheduling, no hourly fees. I've trained presidents, prime ministers, and Fortune 500 CEOs. But the same exact communication I've delivered to world leaders is now available to you online, anytime at MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Whether you're speaking on camera, pitching a client, or handling a crisis, you need these tools. These aren't fluffy motivational videos. They're practical, battle-tested techniques to help you speak clearly, competently, and persuasively. Go to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com and take your communication to the next level. Got feedback or a question for me? I actually read them, and if you send one, I'll send you a free mini course as a thank you. Just head to tjwalker.com/feedback. Ever wish you could just ask me your question live? Now you can. Every week I go live with members only. On YouTube, it's called TJ Live. I review pitches, fix presentations, and answer your questions on the spot. It's interactive, personal, and hands-on. If you want real-time coaching in a small group setting, go to tjwalker.com/live and become a member. This isn't passive content. It's a two-way conversation.
Welcome back to Filtered. I'm your host, TJ Walker. Issue 5, the White House East Wing, gone on a cloud of dust and controversy. Bulldozers are clawing into American history. The East Wing of the White House, home to the First Lady's office and the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, is being demolished to make way for President Trump's new 90,000 square foot ballroom. According to the New York Times and Reuters, Trump had promised, quote, the White House itself won't be touched. But officials now say demolition was cheaper and more structurally sound. The price tag, $300 million, all privately funded, he claims. Critics call it heritage vandalism. The East Wing, built in 1902 and redesigned by Franklin Roosevelt in 1942, hid the bunker used during 9/11 and the 2020 protests. The National Trust for Historic Preservation says the new ballroom will dwarf the executive mansion, calling the move, quote, a desecration of a national landmark. Even some conservatives compare it to tearing down Monticello's wings or Mount Vernon's portico. History bulldozed for vanity. Okay, what's the real message here? There's a huge fundraising opposition for any Democratic candidate running for president in 2028. Send me $5 and I will use that to rebuild the White House as it was in 1902. We're going to tear down everything Trump has done to this White House, strip out every piece of gold, and restore the White House to the integrity it had just a few years ago. That is going to be a huge fundraising pitch for any Democrat running for president. Okay, let's dig a little deeper here. So with all the other problems in our country, is this the biggest problem? No, I'm not going to hold that out to you. But I do think this is a metaphor for really the destruction of our entire society, the destruction of our government, the destruction of the infrastructure of this nation. These two things, it's tearing down the White House to put up some giant gold tacky Mar-a-Lago double is one thing. And then President Trump putting out a video earlier this week or late last week with him in a jet flying over, dumping excrement on the American people, and specifically the No Kings rally. Those two things, I think, tell you everything you need to really know about what's happening in Washington and this administration's attitudes towards history, towards tradition, towards basic civic responsibility. Tear down the White House and dump excrement on the American public. At some level, you can appreciate the honesty of it. It's just right out there naked. I'm taking a bulldozer to the US government, to tradition, to separation of powers, indeed, the White House. I'm just taking a bulldozer to it. There's a certain level of honesty there. I guess if that's something you respect. Independent Senator Angus King says, quote, "It's an insult to the American people," and he's not a Democrat or a Republican. So this is not a bipartisan thing. I do feel strongly, you can't prove these things. I do feel strongly that if a President Biden or Obama or Clinton had tried this, the articles of impeachment would be drawn up in about 7 seconds. The vote in the House to charge with impeachment would happen in about 6 hours if any other president did this. But now we live in a time where there is a stranglehold, where the current occupant has such command over members of his own party. They are so afraid to voice opposition, to be seen as disloyal, because they're afraid of that angry tweet or that angry Truth Social, which would then generate hundreds, if not thousands, of death threats against them. They're afraid of him, because I really do not think any Republican senator endorses this in their heart. It's true. They're not speaking out about this because there's a lot of other stuff going on. But to see some, and folks, I'm not one of these architectural purists who says, well, once an old building is an old building, you can never touch it again. You can never, I'm not like that. But still, the White House, it's such a symbol of the United States government, the stability of the United States, the tradition of democracy. And I understand, the White House was not built in 1776. And the current version of it was really only finished in the last century. But still, to tear it down, to build this giant ballroom for more parties and more people, I guess, who are going to stand up and give quotes about how dear leader is the greatest president in the history of the world and how he should serve forever and never leave office. That just seems a bit much to me. Now, so far, this president has not done anything to really anger his base. And I'll give him credit for that. President Trump is remarkable in his resiliency, as he famously said in his first campaign. I could go out and shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue, kill them, and I wouldn't lose any votes. It seemed hyperbolic at the time. It's now proven to be correct for the most part. He hasn't done anything to really lose that 40% of the country that says, we hate the other guy so much, anything you want to do that annoys them, we're all in. Nothing has really fundamentally changed that dynamic in American politics for the last decade. Even now, while some polls show the president's support dipping to 37%, and there are some Republican senators like Ted Cruz and even Florida's own Senator Scott now tepidly refusing to endorse every nominee from the administration. by and large, they're not openly hostile and criticizing him on a regular basis. And it is because like 9 out of 10 Republicans still support him. Is this going to be the thing to finally tear away more support from this administration among Republicans? I don't think so. I don't think it's that galvanizing. But it's a piece of the puzzle. And Democrats, I think, if they want to be a true opposition party, need to get better at grabbing on to symbolic moments like this and highly visual moments. The fact that they're not running ads 24/7 and social media ads and social media content showing again and again and again the wrecking ball hitting the White House, Trump dumping excrement on people. The fact that they're not showing those two things over and over and over again, I think is a sign the Democrats are in some ways feckless or at least ineffective. They're not really doing what they need to do, and they don't understand the power of the symbolism here, because these are powerful, powerful symbols. And believe you me, if the tables were turned, the top advertising minds, the top social media minds in the world would be all over this, with Republicans mocking and vilifying a Democrat who literally took a wrecking ball to the White House, of all things. So we'll see. I sadly predict this issue is not going to get much bigger. And yes, there'll be some Democratic carping, but without that sustained pounding, without there being an echo chamber equivalent of the Fox News podcast, Newsmax war room that the right has, it's not going to really resonate. Now, some protesters have said this is American Versailles. Now, the whole point of America is we don't have a King Louis XIV or any other king here. We don't have the opulence of Versailles because our society is not based on the idea of one person being anointed by God to live in a wildly lavish way and everyone else live like a poor peasant. Because that's how France society was. That's why Versailles was built. And by the way, beautiful place. If you ever get a chance to go to Versailles, spend the day there, spend the evening there as well. It's a fantastic place, but it's not America. And Mar-a-Lago is not America, but hey, a private individual wanting to decorate a house any way he wants, no matter how tacky other people think, that's freedom. That you have to have that in a free society. But you had to tear down a traditional American architectural gem like the White House to turn it into some tacky sort of gold-covered, gilded Atlantic City casino that might be the next thing to go bankrupt. Just seems like a horrible, horrible idea. Okay, that concludes our main section of the show, where we look at the top 5 stories. Typically, we look at 5 big stories of the day and try to give you an in-depth analysis so that you can understand it better, have some more perspective beyond just what you see in the headlines, and oftentimes learn practical tips to make yourself more successful in your professional life as well as your personal life. Let's switch now to the grab bag section of the show. How many steps do you really need? Forget 10,000 steps. New research says 7,000 a day is the real sweet spot. A sweeping analysis in the Lancet Public Health found that people who walked 7,000 steps daily had a 47% lower risk of death compared with those who walked just 2,000. The benefits rise sharply up to 7,000 steps, then level up. Not completely level up, but you don't get the dramatic improvement. So if you're not hitting 10,000 steps, don't sweat it. Walking a few extra blocks, putting your phone away while you do it might be the most powerful pill you can take. So I'm a big fan of walking, and not just because my name is Walker. I personally try to walk about 15,000 steps a day. So even if I don't get to play pickleball, which I love to do, even if I don't get to the gym on the treadmill, which I try to do most days, if I walk those 15,000 steps, it's very hard for me to gain weight. I'm not telling you you have to walk 15,000 steps. I'm not telling you 15,000 steps is the magic number. For so long, we've all heard this magic 10,000 steps. It turns out that was just something from a marketing slogan for a company based in Japan in the 1960s. So it's a myth that, walking 10,000 steps is the perfect thing you have to do, and you're basically going to die if you don't do that. But it's also a myth that many of us buy into, that you can just sort of sit around all day long, stare at a phone, stare at a computer, and thank you if you're watching me sitting down now, and never walk and push buttons and just get in a car or a golf cart everywhere and be healthy. That's a myth too. This myth that you can just take pills and potions and athletic greens and more vitamins and never walk and never sweat and never exercise. That's a myth that unfortunately is bought into a lot more than this myth of walking 10,000 steps. Here's where I think the messaging of the 10,000 steps is bad, though, is it makes some people feel like, oh, I can never do that. Why even bother? Because if you're only doing 2,000 steps a day, getting to 10,000, that's a 500% of what you're doing now. That can seem like an insurmountable mountain. My recommendation to you is simply look for more opportunities throughout the day to walk more. You take a subway somewhere, rather than get off a block away from your final destination, get off one stop earlier. Walk that last 10 blocks. You have time. You do. If there's something you can get to, here was my old rule when I lived in New York City. If I could get someplace in a half an hour by walking, I never took a subway or a taxi or an Uber, because by the time you factored in waiting or just missing a train or waiting for the car or traffic, I didn't save any time by taking a subway or an Uber or a taxi. I walked. By walking, I got more exercise. And in a place like New York City, it's pretty easy, I found, to get 12,000 steps without even trying to. There's so many fun, easy places to walk to, and it's simply more convenient to walk. For the rest of America, it's different. We are a sprawled out country where most people drive everywhere, even if it's to drop their kid off to school a block and a half away. Believe it or not, I've seen it happen. So if you want to be healthier, I think one of the best things you can ever do, without giving yourself an artificial quota of, I got to walk 15,000 steps or 10,000 steps, or I'm this lazy, pathetic loser. I don't want you beating yourself up. But I do think it's important to simply have the attitude of, I'm going to walk anytime I can. I'm going to actively look for opportunities to walk, whether it's to the mailbox, whether it is to a store 2 blocks away, whether it is to a neighborhood park where normally you might drive or take a golf cart or something. Just walk. The fresh air will do you well. What I have found, or what I've not found, frankly, is anything that says, well, over 10,000, you start to harm yourself, or over 15,000, you start. I've not seen any evidence to suggest that the more you walk, you're doing any harm. And there's a lot of evidence that you are burning more calories. And guess what? Since 70% of Americans are either overweight or obese, what's the downside of burning more calories? So that's why I'm urging you. You want to be more successful in your own personal health. Look for ways of walking more. Doesn't have to be a set quota, but just more than what you're currently doing. You'll probably feel better, sleep better, and be healthier. We're out of time. I try to end shows these days by taking one question from one of my students about personal communication and personal development. We've started doing that. We're out of time for today, but we'll try to get that tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please leave comments, whatever platform you're on. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please follow and subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, TikTok, any place else, leave comments, sign up for notifications. Please subscribe. Thanks. See you tomorrow.